think we're at the meeting start time, and it looks like we still may be
Recording in progress.
Folks to join us possibly. But let's go ahead and get started. So we just have one item on the agenda tonight, and that is a presentation from Community Services, Park and Recreation, a year in review, similar to the fashion that CED did for us previously. Now it's on to Parks and Recs. So I will turn it over to Kelly Beamer.
Great, thank you, Council President McGurven and council members. Let me start by sharing my screen. And can everyone see that okay?
Looks great to me.
Awesome. Well, this is the only slide I have, and the rest of it's just me talking. Just kidding. First of all, I would like to introduce, my name's Kelly Beamer, the Parks and Rec Administrator, and which was formerly Community Services. Early throughout 2021, we changed with the reorganization in August, but I would like to introduce the management team, and they're truly the ones that have accomplished all the work that you'll see and much more. This is a very high level of things that have been going on in 2021, and then a couple of items that we'll be addressing in 2022. So first is Colleen Hunsaker, who's the Parks and Trails Director. Then we've got Elizabeth Stewart, there's our museum manager. I can't see everybody on the screen. We have Erica Schmitz, who is the Parks Planning and Natural Resources Director. And then we also have Carrie Nass, who is our Recreation Director.
Good evening.
And then lastly, and definitely not in any orders of importance, is Steve Myers, our Golf Course Manager. So again, this team is truly the ones that have done all of this work. And I am going to be going through this fairly quickly so that we have some time for council to ask questions at the end if they'd like. And also because it's at a fairly high level, if council or anyone would like further information or more detailed information, we would be definitely happy to supply that. So currently our department now has these 5 divisions, which is whom we just introduced as far as the management team. And as I mentioned, reorg happened in August of last year. Kind of recapping where the department was prior to that, prior to the reorg, facilities was in our department, and now they reside in Public Works. Human Services, also in the new department, Equity Housing, the Human Services Department. And then part of the recreation team was the neighborhood program, and that's now in the Executive Services Department. So I just want to make sure that council understood, just because they were moved to other departments didn't mean that they didn't accomplish quite a bit of work in the time frame that they were in 2021 in with community services at the time. So facilities, as you can see here, and council knows that they had previously done the elevator replacement project and our HVAC systems up on the roof of City Hall. They accomplished all of these major maintenance replacements and improvements at City Hall last year, as well as, and importantly too, as our custodial and maintenance teams have been with us throughout this pandemic and making sure that all of our buildings are clean and safe for workers and public that have come in. Part of facilities as well as the capital side of the house, and as council approved a couple weeks ago, or excuse me, back in January, was the operating agreements or agreement between the City of Renton and the Renton School District for the Family First Community Center, as well as the contract for the construction of the Family First Community Center. And those of you that have driven down along 116th and adjacent to Cascade Elementary, they are starting work, and it's amazing after a little over 6 years that we finally have gotten to this point. It's so exciting. So kudos to the team. And I also want to truly thank some other city departments that were an integral part of our agreements and getting those to council so we can get those approved. And that's definitely the city attorney's office, our finance team, and our risk management division as well. So we wanted to make sure that they get the shout outs too. Also that resided in community services at the time was human services, and they did start last year the bi-monthly pop-up lunch programs that we've had now at 2 different locations, Liberty Park through the summertime when we started those up, and now at 300 Rainier location. And those include prepackaged food and beverages, personal hygiene kits, cleaning supplies, and socks, things like that. And they've been very successful. And that's in partnership with the emergency feeding program as well. They also, the team implemented the 2 rounds of the CDBG CV CARES funding out to local agencies that would help us with rental, utility, and food assistance to our diverse populations and our homeless or near homeless populations as well. And then they also finalized the social services guide, which is a major resource guide for all different types of services. They renamed it. It used to be called the Human Services Guide, but we were getting some confusion with human services and human resources, so they changed the name to social services. And again, a very thorough guide with that. Next, our Parks and Trails Division takes care of all of our trails, parks and trail maintenance, as well as sports fields, preparations for groups and programs, and encampment removals. Also, this division has our farmers market, which includes the benefits program and community gardens, and then our volunteer program along with outdoor education. The team of the parks maintenance team has 32 full-time staff when they are at their full strength. We still have a few vacancies to replace. And they are responsible for maintaining 31 parks and over 10 miles of trails. And that's keeping our parks safe, which is our number 1 priority for our patrons. And then in addition, each worker sustains or keeps their licenses, if you will, current. So we have pesticide applicator license, SIPSI, which is our certified playground inspection license, as well as our backflow prevention assembly license, which helps with keeping our water systems clean and clear. The parks team this past year, assisted with the installation of the AARP outdoor fitness area, the Fit Lot. As you can see, the maintenance team on the right there is a Fit Lot equipment on the left, maintenance team on the right. They saved the city a significant amount of money by installing all of the irrigation themselves versus us going out to contract that. And then another thing that we've had an impact is council's aware of our maintenance shop and our temporary relocation through our facilities condition assessment, a structural review of all the buildings, but the maintenance shop at the Park Avenue shop specifically, which is directly across from Liberty Park, had some significant structural issues, and we want to make sure, as we always do, all of our employees are safe. So we moved them out of that location and into the first floor of 200 Mill. So they are temporarily relocated there. A lot of the large equipment is still out in the yard, so there's some back and forth going on, but the team is, they're troopers, and they're making the best of a difficult situation right now while we try to locate a new facility or a site for a new facility. And then, as I had mentioned, encampment removals is also part of the team's responsibilities, and it's encampment removals in city-owned property or on city-owned property. We have to follow a specific policy as far as how we address these, and again, we are consistent with, especially now, making sure that we have, there's 2-person patrols that go out. We never want to send anybody out by themselves to locate and coordinate the cleanups. We typically go out with police as well, unless we know the areas are vacant, and then our teams will go out and post them per our city policy. We have to post them for a minimum of 48 hours. Typically, it's approximately a week before we're able to coordinate the removals of the encampments or the refuse. Again, they're either already vacated camps, or they're posing a possible health risk, or they're receiving multiple complaints about areas in and among our city that we maybe need to address. We're not actively out. They're trying to get people out of the encampments, although, we want people to have safe places to go, but we're not trying to go out and force people out at this point. Again, like I said, unless it's a possible health risk or we're continuing to receive multiple complaints. We do, when we post the encampments, there's literally a packet of information that goes along with that. So we have the new social services guide. We have information that can connect people with services, phone numbers, things like that, that they can, if they would like to start working their way out of homelessness or need services of any kind, then we want to make sure that we provide that to the individuals. So I mentioned that Parks takes care of the city-owned property. Anything on privately owned property is managed by Community and Economic Development's code enforcement team, and private property owners, including WSDOT and including BNSF. Those are also areas that they help coordinate removals and cleanups on. This year, as you notice, our costs were significantly up. This year, we had a budget of $75,000 to take care of encampments over 2021, and we spent a little over $176,000 for those removals. One of the other things in our parks, and this is noticed at the Cedar River Dog Park, obviously we have signage. Our parks have been definitely more impacted and more busy because most of what's allowed is outdoors, although some of the restrictions now are lifting and we're getting some availability to do programmings and things. But we'll have to go around and take a look at our signage, which we have this banner signage up in most of our parks, and now we'll need to update that as the restrictions change throughout our system to make sure that the public's aware of what's allowed and not allowed. On the right is the embankment on the Cedar River Trail between the dog park and Riverview Park, where the floods from 2020 eroded the bank significantly and actually into the trail. So we've got some reduction as far as trail use there to make sure that patrons are safe. Our team's been working with a design consultant as well as regulatory agencies and FEMA. And it looks like we'll be anticipating the permits to come in to be able to secure this area and reestablish it so that we can get the trail back to the width it should be. Probably looks like we're estimating construction to begin in summer of, securing the permits by summer of this year and construction to end by summer of next year. So we'll have to work with the in-water requirements when we can get in there. Farmers Market, you can see here, sales up by almost 50% over 2020. The SNAP benefit, SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. That's been up as well. And along with Farmers Market, that was in the Gateway site because of Seattle King County Public Health restrictions as far as size. We had it in Gateway Park so they could control the entrance and exits. But we were also allowed to have the community gardens, and both the community garden participants as well as vendors at the Farmers Market, as you can see, donated almost 4,700 pounds of fresh food. And that went to our senior center and also to our senior lunch program and also to our food banks, which is a record over previous years. It's pretty amazing. Next in the division is volunteer program. We were able to have our day of service. Last year, it was held with 50 volunteers and it was at Tiffany Park. We also beautified Rolling Hills and Victoria Hills neighborhoods along with the volunteers. Teresa Nishi, the coordinator, and her team worked with risk management and has established the new safety protocols for the volunteer programs so that we follow those and make sure that our forms are up to date and everything. They were able to have 28 volunteer projects this year, which is great. We continue to try to engage the community. Obviously, the number of participants were much lower, but we still were able to have those. And we also coordinated in partnership with KCLS, the story walks, which were both at the Sunset Park, the new Sunset Park, and at Liberty Park. Also of great importance, and I think of interest to the council, the volunteer appreciation will be happening this year, April 27th. It's another drive-through event at the Renton Community Center. Those of you that were able to participate last year knew how successful and how much fun everyone had enjoying that. We'll have live music. We'll be sending out a save the date with that here shortly. And then a Zoom event as similar to last year will follow at 7:15. So we'll be able to recognize the volunteers that have helped us throughout the city, not just in our department. And then, like we said, coming up for 2022 is definitely securing a new location for the maintenance facility. We're anticipating returning the farmers market to the piazza this year, which will be great. And then also establishing a new track trail program, which is an outdoor education program that was, we established the first one in Washington. This next one will be going up at Heritage Park, and the current one is at Cedar River Trail Park. Parks planning and natural resources, you can see, is the acquisition and development of our capital projects, if you will, major maintenance throughout our system. Acquiring lands such as the May Creek corridor areas where we have a soft surface trail and now a south side that will be hopefully constructing towards the end of this year, and then our urban forestry program. One of the big things that this division does, not that our other divisions don't as well, but they are laser focused on grants, and you will see that in some of the projects coming up of the grants that they've been able to acquire to help stretch our dollars. So accomplishments, as you saw on the last page, let me go back one page, that Sunset Park and that Helix structures are the first in our state, and definitely extremely popular, and voted most thrilling for kids by the Seattle Times, and they put a little caveat, probably most scary for parents, but it's extremely safe. We have to go through all of the safety protocols and everything, but everything's, like I said, most popular. It's got the poured in place soft surfacing underneath it, rubberized surfacing, so extremely popular. These next ones, Sunset Park, again, was funded in a large part by federal and state grants, so just kind of referring back to the amount of grants the team gets. That top picture on the left is the Cedar River Trestle Bridge, which needed major abutment renovation repairs, as well as some other structural repairs. And this is along, would be just, I guess, south of Riverview Park, right next to Maplewood Roadside Park. The Cedar River Trail is a regional corridor through our city, so very important that we made sure that the structural repairs were completed. The next picture is Coulon Park, the playground replacement, and happy to say that that was 100% grant funded, and also voted by the Seattle Times as the best new playground in Seattle, in South Seattle, excuse me. Oh, just in the Seattle area, not just South Seattle, so way to go. And then also the next picture then is Teasdale Park. That's the team. We've had several cracks and upheavals in the old pavement, and so they were able to put in a brand new basketball court replacement. And then the new Liberty Park, again, Liberty Park Playground was the oldest in our system, and we were able to complete that last year as well. So move on to urban forestry. As you can see, there's we have 2 people in that division currently, and they have completed a ton of work amongst themselves, as well as through a lot of contract maintenance. And one of the big kudos to them was being able to get the citywide GIS tree inventory maps and databases updated and up to date with our current inventory, which is amazing. If you haven't been on there, it's pretty cool to see. And then they also started the year-long Rooted in Renton, which was the Renton Forestry Management Plan, a 10-year plan that council just approved a few weeks ago. And that plan will help guide us and move us forward through our urban forestry program and taking care of and it's a citywide program, not just for parks. It's truly in partnership with other departments as well. So I'll move on to what's we're calling the year of growth, our bond projects. So Coulon, as we know, the team completed the decking repairs or the replacement with the light penetrating materials next to Ivers, and then also some of the understructure repairs of that area. These repairs and replacements are required by the Department of Natural Resources Aquatic Land Lease grant that we have. So the next phase is, as you can see, that top picture is addressing the North Water Walk and replacing the concrete surfacing with light penetrating surface. And then through our structural analysis that we get about every 3 to 5 years, noted that our piles that support that walk need to be renovated a little bit. So we have 99 piles that will be wrapped to help support that project. Most of the, I think we're waiting on one permit left on the North Water Walk, and then we'll be going out to bid on that. We have $1.3 million in a state legislative appropriation. And I'm happy to announce that last Friday, I believe it was, we were just awarded another $481,000 to in a grant, King County grant, in assistance to help with the floating picnic pads and to make those with the light penetrating materials and all up to speed for our aquatics lease as well. The construction time frame probably will not begin until late August, I would imagine, and then all the in-water work because of the fish windows will not be able to happen until November, December timeframe. So more to come. We'll have a lot of information, obviously for all of our patrons, but definitely to inform council and mayor on the timing of that. And then the Coulon Park Trestle Bridge also will start around that same time. So we'll be going out to bid soon on that. That also has a $500,000 federal grant for the Land and Water Conservation Fund on that one. And estimated start time is October with the completion of March of 2023. We will be, like I said, updating council more on once we start finalizing the timeframes on those, so they'll be aware of what's happening. The other bond projects happening, Philip Arnold Park is the conceptual picture on the left. That is an 11-acre park that is 55 years old and needs a lot of loving care, which we'll be addressing with our bond money as well as some grant funding as well. That park will be going out to bid probably mid-April-ish timeframe with the estimated start time of construction in the May, maybe early June timeframe, and then going through spring of next year. We'd like to get that opened up in the summertime because it's a highly programmed park, and so we don't want to interrupt that use too much. We have a loop trail system, new basketball court, moving the playground from the back of the park towards the front of the park with 2 picnic shelter areas, and then one of the major things is updating the ADA accessibility from the parking lot into that park. And then the next part, the conceptual on the right, is Kiwanis Park. That is out to bid right now. So we estimate the construction to start probably mid to late spring on that once we go through all of our bidding process. Again, another loop trail system. It is also a 55-year-old park. So we'll be updating loop trail system, new basketball court. One of the really cool things is we'll have a synthetic turf infield in the baseball field. It's our first synthetic turf in our system, so we're pretty excited about that. And then new playground in a parent plaza as well. As you can see on the right of that picture where the Union Avenue, if you've been along there right now, the only way you can access is by stairs. So we'll have full ADA accessibility as well as frontage improvements along that. Then capital projects that are already, I believe, out to bid if we don't already have a selection. Cascade Park, we're going to be bringing forward to council for approval here shortly for the contract. But playground replacements, we are having issues with the contractors having issues with accessing materials and shipping constraints. So some of the start times are a little wiggly, if you will, right now. on that. So we'll have to update council. As we know, we'll be able to get started on those. For Kennydale specifically, Kennydale Beach Park, if we're not able to complete that project by Memorial Day, we will postpone it until after Labor Day, so we're not closing that park down through the summertime. So we've already talked to the team about that, and make sure that hopefully we can get the materials and get that in. And you can see the shade structures, which has been in our parks plan. That was one of the things that have been asked for the beach parks, specifically Kennydale Beach, is getting shade structures. Couple more projects. Senior Activity Center will be getting an ADA ramp and door into the back of the what we call the coffee shop area of the building, and then also parking lot improvements. As you can see, paving, curbing, removing some trees and replacing them with a little bit better trees that don't have upheavals issues with them. So quite a bit going on at the Senior Center. And then the bocce ball court improvements, which has not been an area that's been used for the most part at all for probably the last 5 to 8 years. Surfacing is really bad, so we're going to be going in, putting in, as you can see, exercise equipment. We'll have over on the what would be the right of the picture, a cornhole court, I guess, if you will. We'll have poured in place, which is cement, ping pong tables. We also have checkerboard and open space for just regular fitness activities and programs. So really excited to get that started. And we're looking probably late spring for that. We've not gone out to bid on that one yet. And then again, we talked about the urban forestry management plan already approved, but we'll be going through or forward with another growth award. I believe we're on our 12th, I want to say our 12th award. We could be going into 13, but Ian's done a great job consistently meeting those requirements and moving forward with our plans and things like that. So that's fantastic. And then we have our first Arbor Day in 2 years. Right now is scheduled for April 23rd from 9 to 12. We're still determining the final site, but that will be out here shortly. So looking forward to getting some trees planted. Okay, moving on to recreation. As you can see, quite a bit that falls under that division. And I will, again, have to say the amount of engagement they were able to do through these last years. Now we're coming up on 2 years, but these last years have been amazing with drive-through and virtual events, partnering with other agencies to help work through some of our restrictions and things. It's just been absolutely fantastic, and they've done an amazing job getting our facilities open. Some of the key successes, we've completed the recreation strategic plan. We, meaning the team, did. Also updated our cost recovery model and policy, secured about $300,000 worth of grants that went towards the senior center through the BSHSL grant, continuing with our award-winning STREAM team, our out-of-school program, getting Best Arts for Kids grants on that, and then the AARP Fit Lot grant to be able to activate. So now that we have the Fit Lot in there, we have programming there for the next 3 years, which is fantastic. We also met community needs. Really proud that our team served over 55,000 meals to our seniors, which we were the busiest site in King County for senior lunches. So hats off to our team, who also drove meals out on weekends as well, which was pretty cool. We also partnered with RFA, obviously, for the COVID vaccines. And also we had 4 blood drives. We had multiple clothing drives, food drives, which we were able to collect over 2.5 tons of food that we donated to the Renton Salvation Army. So just a great job of the team continuing to try to get as much as we can activation-wise and engagement. Some of the other successes, we were able to safely open our recreation and aquatic centers, albeit at not at our normal levels. We had restrictions for number of people or participants that could be in an area. And they were able to do that. They worked with our risk management team and Seattle King County Public Health as well, establishing the electronic check-in, check-out for COVID, vaccine verifications and the screening questionnaire and all those kind of things. So pretty amazing. We had, with the restricted times and the issues that we had filling our lifeguards, thank you, I almost forgot lifeguards, but having the issues filling our lifeguard positions, we still were able to put through 12,500 participants through Henry Moses Aquatic Center, which is amazing. And we had, with our Stream Team summer camp, we had over 100 participants daily in those camps. So amazing that they were able to do, and those obviously were outdoor camps. So some of the other things we did, we initiated the age-friendly action plan, which we worked with other departments on that, and we've hired on a consultant that has been reaching out to our diverse populations, which we've not been able to get to, everyone outside of our senior center. So looking forward to getting that summary back and then meeting back with our department teams to address the areas that we had voids in that we need to start getting programs that we can try to get more seniors into our system. We also, there's quite a bit done at the community center as well. We updated our fitness area so it was more ADA accessible. So we've added some equipment and moved equipment so there's better movement in and around those areas. And then we now have a new wheelchair rugby teams that programs that we participate in, and the pickleball leagues as well have gotten extremely popular, not only indoors, but we'll be activating some outdoors as well. And then, like we'd mentioned, we're going to continue to offer some virtual and drive-through programming. We've found that there's a lot of people that would rather participate in some of those than, coming into our facilities. So, Chalk Your Walk, our Truck or Treat event, for those of you that came to the Halloween event, was amazing, totally cool. And thank you all the other departments that participated in that. We were able to serve, we did the Thanksgiving meals this year, so we did over 200 meals out to our senior population, which was, again, fantastic. And then we did Santa letters, Elf Academy, and much more through some of our engagements. We also were able to, even with the restrictions, we're able to get 30 what we call special events, outside city events, permitted through our system. And it was pretty cool that we were able to get that so they could get in and about our parks as well and have their family get-togethers or whichever they'd like to, what they were hosting. So the recreation plans for 2022 is obviously, again, fingers crossed, fully activating our buildings and programs. And look like now we're starting to get some of the restrictions lifted. So that will be amazing. As I mentioned earlier, implementing the age-friendly rent-in, truly implementing it so we're getting our gaps addressed in what we found through our outreach. Updating our special events permit process so that it's truly online and it's integrated with park rules and a lot easier for our customers to navigate through and questions will be answered. And then also activating Liberty Park building with environmental programming and recreation programming, which we're looking at doing late summer, early fall. Next is the golf course. You can see here the different operations is outside the actual maintenance of the course itself, the pro shop operations, driving range operations, and the restaurant, the concessionaire operations, as well as the relationship with them. Golf courses back in 2020 when COVID first hit us, golf courses were one of the very first activities statewide that were able to open. And proud to say that team worked with our risk management and King County Public Health to establish protocols so that they could operate safely and keep not only our staff safe, but our patrons safe as well. And right now, I will say that our golf course this is as busy as I've seen it in the last 20 years. And it's amazing because they've got some times that have been restricted as far as, when they can, amount of staff they have to keep it open. The golf course is open 7 days a week. And it's daylight to dark, sometimes after dark with the driving range. So it's definitely a busy facility. The team was able to get online booking, which is fantastic. So now customers don't have to just call in the pro shop. They're able to do their own booking. We added the electronic flyover that is in our website and different hole descriptions so that it's updated and looks much newer than the 1970s version that I think was in there prior. But it does look fantastic. And I will tell you that, again, as busy as they were, they did 56,000 rounds of golf last year. That doesn't include the number of customers that have gone through the driving range, which was the second highest revenue generator for the golf course. They also exceeded their revenue budget by nearly $350,000. So they did an extremely great job. We're also replacing an aging cart fleet that is about 8 years old. We typically try to do it around a 6-year time frame. Fortunately, council approved the purchase of them. We have gone down that process. They were supposed to be to the golf course last June, but again, because of materials and shipping issues, we're keeping our fingers crossed that we'll be looking at late April time frame to get those carts in. So can't wait for that. Some of the accomplishments, we've updated lighting. The significant lighting is LED lighting in the driving range, which is the picture on the right, so way more efficient lighting. They also updated the parking lot lighting with LED lighting, much more brighter, much better coverage, and again, much more efficient. And then did some other significant repairs within the driving range. Again, like I mentioned, that is our number 2 revenue generator, so we want to make sure we're keeping that up to date. The main project coming up this year is the replacement of the driving range perimeter netting. It's a pretty significant project. It is out to bid right now, so we're waiting to see what we get back. The nets that are there, most netting will last about 10 years, and we are on year 13-ish, a little over 13. They have seen much better days. So we definitely need to get the netting up, and obviously it's safety related as well. But like I said, that's out to bid right now. And then they're also upgrading because it's a electronic system for ball dispensing. They're upgrading the dispensing of those with the new system as well. The Renton History Museum. All those, raise your hand, have been to the Renton History Museum. It is, if you haven't been there, oh my gosh, it changes all the time. So don't blink because they'll be going through new exhibits. Definitely, as you can see, very small, but extremely enthusiastic and masked team right there. They do a great job. They, taking care of all the exhibits, like I talked about, programming, doing research. They get a lot of calls from people that have ideas or just want to know information. So they spend a lot of time, making sure we're addressing our public needs. And then extensive material collection and vetting through that and making sure that we're storing that appropriately as well. The museum opened in March of 2021 and kind of opened and then had to close down a little bit and then came back and opened again. And they've established, like all of our other buildings, the COVID protocols. You can see here the Facing the Inferno was with the University of Idaho, the exhibit of about the wildfires. When You Can't Go Home was an exhibit about people experiencing or exploring the experiences of refugees and in South King County and what they've gone through. And then on the right, really cool exhibit was the art exhibit from the Brain Injury Alliance in Washington. And amazing that what art can do to help people get through some of the issues that they've had to deal with. So really cool. If you weren't able to see that one, brings tears to my eyes. It was an amazing exhibit. So they started renovating the North Gallery. As you can see, we removed, well, if you have been in the Museum North Gallery, there's a wall there. So we removed that and reestablished it, opened it up so there's more exhibit space. Volunteers and facilities certainly helped a lot on that. And so we'll continue to finish that in this year. The new exhibits for this year with this ring is coming up. Looks like Liz mentioned that we're time approximate, but we're pretty close to starting actually this week. I think we're supposed to be starting this week, and we'll make that announcement. That'll be running through October, and that's about the history of marriage in Renton. So we've got that story and exhibit going through. And then the next one starting in late October through December is Sap in Their Veins, which will be interesting. It's about the spotted owl issue that happened back in the 1980s, but this will be from a logger's perspective or a logging perspective. So it'll be nice to see what their perspective is. And then, as I mentioned, this team, mainly these 4 divisions, have done an amazing job at furthering our resources and expanding our funding so that we can get as much done for our public, our community as possible. And over the last 3 years, we've gotten over $6.7 million in grants, and we still have applications out. So this is as close to as current accurate as we have, but just wanted to share that the team is constantly working on making sure we're stretching our money, our dollars, as best we can. So, and with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Kelly. A lot of information. Certainly with the reorg, it will shrink the size a little bit, but obviously a lot there to unpack and a good list of accomplishments. We have just a few minutes for questions. So I will take the first 2 I see in order. Councilmember Albertson, followed by Councilmember Halloran.
All right. Thanks, Kelly. Great presentation. I'm going to go back to the encampment issue. Kind of 3 questions. I noticed you said they're vacated. Are they typically vacated? Do they have to be vacated? Is the first question. And, I know there's a kind of a procedure and that sort of thing. And as I was reading this before today, it also said after multiple complaints, and it kind of struck me, well, why multiple complaints? How many complaints? I mean, when does this actually get on the radar? And then I'm curious, with the budget, what was spent being far outweighing the budget, I'm curious, how has the budget been adjusted, or how has that been taken into account going forward? It would seem as though the longer it's there, more stuff is accumulated, the more it's going to cost to clean it up. So those are kind of related. I wonder if you could speak on that just a little bit.
Sure. And I know we have just a few minutes. So not all the camps are vacated, but when we run across ones that are, which you can tell that there's not current refuse and things like that, then we'll make sure that we clean those up. So when they're not, no matter if they are or are not vacated, we still have to post per city policy. Mm-hmm. And so individuals that are there, which is when we have individuals in a camp, then we have police join us to make sure that we're safe, but we're also, that's part of the policy, is that we make sure that any material that might be personal property versus refuse, which is identified in the policy, we keep, the police actually store, so the individuals can get that. And as far as number of complaints, it depends on the area. So if it's under a bridge, one of our bridges, I mean, it's one person that might say, oh, we've seen drug use and garbage in the camp, and so we'll address that as soon as possible. There's some areas that we would call out on our open space areas that maybe don't receive a lot of complaints in a quick time frame. And once we start receiving them, that means there's a lot more activity happening in those areas, and then we'll go in and address them at that point. And then as far as budget, I'm hoping I'm getting all your questions. As far as budget, we obviously with some of our staff savings, because we didn't have our staff positions filled, and just through budget savings, just because we weren't fully operational, if you will, at that point, that it comes through our existing budget. We will address it when we move forward with the 23-24 budget as well.
Okay. Thank you. You covered everything. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. So we always have multi-layered questions. So Councilmember Halloran.
Hi, just going forward, thank you, Kelly, and your entire team there. Just a fantastic effort on behalf of our citizens. Going forward, large-scale events returning to Renton, for example, 4th of July, what's the outlook for that?
Yes, thank you. We will be doing what we would anticipate as large-scale events. It does not mean that they will look the exact same. We're evaluating everything depending on where we're at with any potential restrictions or staffing, because we use other departments in a lot of like 4th of July and things like that. So we're working through those right now. River Days is being reformatted, if you will. So we'll be bringing some information forward to council as well, so that we're able to, we still want to have big celebrations as we're allowed, and we are still planning them as best we can through the current merry-go-round that we're on. Does that answer your question? I mean, we still anticipate going back to some of those. Like I said, they might not look the exact same.
Right. Thank you very much.
All right, Councilmember Perez.
Thank you. Very quick. I just wanted to thank you, Kelly, and all your staff. Typically, Liz, I missed so many of the things from the museum because of the pandemic, and I was, hard quarantine. And I hope that some of the exhibitions that you put that were amazing, specifically the one for the women, I missed it completely, but it was in 2020, and it were before vaccines and all these things. I know that you guys have worked very hard during this time, but I hope that I have the opportunity to see some of these wonderful exhibits that you guys put in 2020 that obviously get overshadowed because we were in the middle of the pandemic. Once again, thank you very much for all the work from you and your staff.
Thank you very much. And yes, we are excited to get back to doing some of our celebrations. So.
Right, I don't see any additional hands raised. I want to make sure we have probably time for a quick question or two more, or the other option is if you have more questions, obviously you can ask them offline. And we don't actually have anything scheduled for our next COW if we really have, but I'm not seeing the urgency of hands raised, so I feel like we can probably wrap this up tonight. I'll ask one quick question before we adjourn, and that was, you talked a little bit about on energy efficiency, which I like seeing on the lights and whatnot. I know there was a bill under consideration in the legislature this year that would have required by 2025, I think, zero emission outdoor power equipment. Knowing that the writing's on the wall on that, do we have a plan in place to move that direction in line with our sustainability goals for the city when knowing that that's going to be a reality? I know it's hard to predict a little bit because of the technology is there and maybe not there all the way, but is that something we're working towards and have a plan for?
Yes, it's actually something that our team's brought up and we've discussed. To your point, there are requirements, but there's a lot of equipment that we would need, and I would imagine potentially Public Works as well, that the technology's not there and we don't have that yet. So we'll have to see how that bill kind of works itself out in timeframes as far as types of equipment. But as we start working through fleet purchases and equipment purchases, that will be the direction that if that's the exact way we need to go, then we'll be following that. But we're definitely aware of it and concerned about the technology because there's still a lot of equipment we need to operate that isn't out there yet.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you to the whole team. Appreciate you being here to share the accomplishments and give us a little look ahead. I think the question I didn't get to ask, we'll just leave it hanging as far as what Henry Moses is going to look like this summer, but I guess that's a wait and see. So thank you all. If there's nothing further, we'll go ahead and adjourn and reconvene as a full council at 7 p.m.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.